bowl game.
Yeah.
Beat Wagner. That was pretty cool. Yeah,
Really
we're
impressive.
so bad.
When is housing? Housing's coming up, right? After
Yeah, it's
spring
week
break.
after spring break.
Nice.
2 days after, actually. Yeah.
You excited?
Come on.
Or all you got, like, is any of your room group gone?
2 guys are, yeah.
That always. One of my roommates was in. We got absolute shit. We got the second to last big time before seniors were stepping 2000.
Jesus.
But it was like it like couldn't have been worse.
Yeah. You don't have to deal with the Wu-Tang elevator.
Exactly. But Wu-Tang is kind of like super irrelevant.
Wait, what room on the first floor?
103.
Okay, because
My friends and I.
I lived on the first floor over the summer in Wu-Tang.
Really?
Yeah.
My friends and I did. Yeah, so we didn't get the 6 man, so we walked 3 floors. So it's nice because it's pretty much there's only 5 rooms down there, and 3 of them are ours, so we just are left alone, which is kind of
Monopolize
cool.
the floor.
Um, but it was like 12, like full 24 hours after we had like been like pissed off and just like so frustrated with the whole process. And he's like, "So where are we living?" We're like, "Maryland."
You're out. You're out of the group.
Yeah.
I'm
He'll
excited
have
for.
better luck than you did.
Yeah, it'll be.
I like still hope I get a mod. I'm not over it.
Yeah. My family is 1 for 3 in mods. My
Really?
dad got
Your
one.
siblings?
My brother, yeah, my brother and sister both missed.
Are
So
you the youngest?
yeah. So parents are pumped to not have to pay for this anymore. My dad just got a new car. Oh, I'm by the top field. Nice. Were you? Wow. My dad just got a new car. Like, why did you buy a new car? And he's like, we don't have your sister let me see it. I was like, okay.
We could afford it. Yeah, it's a more lucrative route. My dad picks us up.
Yeah. My dad was actually pumped when my sister got a really good job because then he doesn't have to like pay her rent. So
Yeah.
he's like,
Better.
he's like, oh well, like you're making enough to cover that, like so. My brother, meanwhile, is just freaking living at home.
So is your sister in it, or your brother's the oldest?
Brother's the oldest, yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna pull a brother though. I'm just gonna leave live at home. Work from there or something.
That's exactly what. As soon as I graduate, I'm going straight to my parents'
Oh
place.
yeah.
Live there. My sister graduated 2018 from Amherst, and she got her permanent break and then now is back at her parents' house, which is expensive.
Yeah.
Considering that the starting salary
Yeah.
is like a decent place to rent, it
Yeah.
just like doesn't add up.
Yeah. Like one of my roommates is working for Gojo over the summer. He has to go to New York, and he has to live there, obviously. And he said, I asked him like what he's making, and he said like like why? And he's like, basically like New York rent's brutal. Like Boston rent's bad enough, but like
Yeah,
he
New
said he's
York.
gonna spend like 90% of his money just on rent. Yeah.
I spent more money on rent than anyone.
Oh.
I'm just not as into Boston.
I know it's fun for like 2 days. Like
Yeah.
you go see a show, you do that, like do the touristy crap, and then it's just like this place sucks.
I really like visiting, not so much like I don't know if I can handle it.
Yeah, I hate crowds. Like it just annoys me. I was at like we had a hotel. We went there for like my mom's birthday last year,
Yeah.
and we had a hotel like right in Times Square, and I was just so annoyed. I was like, just shut up, go to
Yeah.
bed. Like, god
Everyone's
damn
just
it.
fucking weird.
It's three weirdo.
First of all, let me just say what a pleasure it is to be back here at BC on this occasion, being able to have or being recognized for some of the things that we've done in the past, and it just gives me a chance to get back and see some of the my old teammates and some of the old uh, alum that were here when I was here. Seeing the new facilities and everything looks really good. I remember being back over in Roberts Center, and so it just kind of gives you kind of a sense of where things have come to or have grown to, and I'm just glad to have been a part of things that have happened here at BC.
Again, I like to just reiterate what John said. It's being a Boston guy living in the city my whole life. I look forward to tomorrow. It's been an honor to play here, play in the Big East Conference. We were talking about how unbelievable the Big East Conference was at the time that we played. And to be recognized for those accomplishments, in a conference at that time is pretty special for both of us. So we're pretty proud of that. And again, I have a sophomore here actually right now at BC. So I'm around frequently, so it's good to be back again in this capacity, like you said, and to be recognized from a basketball standpoint. So it's great to be back again.
You anticipated my first question for both of you guys. Was the Big East kind of at the height of its powers in that stretch run in the 80s?
I'll let him start it because he was kind of the beginning of that run right there.
Yeah, I was at the beginning when it first started. It was just amazing when you start looking at the names of the guys that were playing at the time in the schools. So it was just a big opportunity for us coming out of the ECAC, stepping into the Big East was just one of the best things that could have happened for us. But I think the height of it probably was when Dana and Michael Adams and the way it started to pick up momentum or pick up speed. So he would better know about that.
Well, I mean, again, those guys set the foundation. So I was, growing up watching, Pat Ewing come to the Garden saying I wanted to play at BC. I can't, and then I actually see how tall and big he is, and kind of rethinking that a little bit. Watching those guys play was unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, when I look back at it, that's probably the most prominent thing that I remember, the competition. But also the regional settings of each team. You could drive. My family from Boston drove to every single game, Villanova, Georgetown. So the atmosphere of New England was kind of a New England thing as well. So it was just an unbelievable experience, and to be part of ESPN, really growing off of the the Big East itself was kind of made ESPN at that time. Big Monday, Big Wednesday were the only things going for college at that time. So it was an honor to be a part of that as well.
John, just talk about Tom Davis and his personality, his coaching style, and how did you guys mesh?
Well, Dr. Tom was, kind of a stickler for, his offense, his defense. He was very good defensively, did a lot of great things. One of the things that, I had to do coming in, playing a different style in high school, was just to really pay attention, because he was really, particular about, how you ran, his flex offense and what he was looking for. And then I started to find, some niches and opportunities that I think kind of played to my strength. And so I utilized it, and it helped me to, be able to compete, at that level. And once it started happening, it just kind of continued to snowball.
And you underwent a coaching change, and how did the two coaches? You went from Gary Williams, I believe, to Jim O'Brien, right? How did that transition go? And
Yeah, I came in under Gary Williams, which was kind of a disciple of Tom Davis, up and down the floor, pressing, flex offense. I love the style he played. It's kind of conducive to what everyone's doing now, almost. So it was an unbelievable situation for me to be in, especially being my two visits here were football visits with Doug Flutie. I was a football player, and I actually was going to play football and walk on the basketball team. So again, it was just amazing. Jim O'Brien came in, and I know that there was a time where it was between, I think, Jim Calhoun and Jim O'Brien. And and Jim O'Brien was chosen. And I thought it was great for me because he gave me a lot of freedom, allowed me to be a coach on the floor, taught me really to kind of be more of a point guard than a two guard and lead more vocally as I was kind of quiet back then, to believe it or not. So it was a good experience for me with both coaches. I thought they both were, suited my style well. And, I actually wish I could have, played probably with one more just for 4 years, but I enjoyed both coaches as well.
Do any games stand out to both you guys? I know, John, the Elite Eight run. Dana obviously had some tremendous games here. What stands out when you think about your Boston College career?
Mine would be the Houston game in the final eight because that was a game we felt we could win, and they were kind of hyped Houston's team with Olajuwon and Drexler, and they had but we got beat by free throws. So, and but it was one of those things that you're getting close to the Final Four, and I mean the eagerness, the ideal of being able to reach that pinnacle would have been great for us, and we got close, and the other guys that came up after us, they too went, I think, Final Eight. And so, we've been able to establish, some momentum, hopefully, to reach the top of that mountain and get in the NCAA tournament final.
And my group messed it up, I guess. Again, it was what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Team, what game?
Oh.
What game?
Oh yeah, my I would say 2 moments. We weren't very successful. I think my best year was 15 and 15, and we went to the Final Four of the NIT. So that kind of tells you the competition at that time. And so I would say only beating Georgetown once in 4 years and Syracuse once in 4 years, and hitting probably a game. I think it was game-winning shot in each one was probably the biggest moment for us at the Garden. So I didn't beat those powerhouses too much during my 4 years, but there were a couple of times that really stood out to me. But again, just the element itself of the atmosphere was every game was playing in the Carrier Dome, and just the atmosphere of every game, was unbelievable. You had Rick Pitino at Providence, so it was just a lot of different personalities from a coaching standpoint as well, with Connor Secker and Thompson and all those guys and Boeheim. So again, it was all around. It was just an unbelievable experience.
I remember those days in the Madison Square Garden in the 80s. I mean, that had more intensity than the NCAA tournament, it seemed like.
The Big East tournament was one of the, most amazing events to watch. And I remember watching Pearl, Washington, my senior year in high school, going in the Big East tournament, going down there to watch that. And it was just, I was totally blown away. And I've been to NBA games, but I never been in an atmosphere like that. So, man, it was just Madison Square Garden was kind of the mecca for me as a college player to get to that, to try to play at least more than one game for once in the Big East tournament. I think these guys got a little further than me. I've only played one game ever in that tournament, and actually I played 2 a couple of times, but I wish I had more of an experience during that time.
How did your BC career prepare you for the NBA?
Well, I mean, I thought it, obviously it was a solid career at BC, but I really had to make a transition from being more of a whatever I wanted to be guard to a point guard. I could play 1 or 2 in college, whatever best fit us, but when you get to the league and there's 4 other 20-point a game scorers on the team telling you to pass them the ball, you have to find that medium. So I think it was more me being a scorer in college. It was more difficult to try to make that balance of, okay, I need to get the ball to these guys and then look for myself. So it prepared me physically, obviously, and emotionally for the game. But once I got to the league, it was a different animal, for me to try to figure it out.
Yeah, for me it was interesting because again, I too was a scorer in college, and then I got drafted to Cleveland, and my first couple of years we kind of struggled I played for a coach, Tom Nasaki, who pretty much said, right off the bat, he said, I don't play rookies, right? So, so I didn't play none that first year, but I had a chance to play against some of the other talent that was there. So that kind of, even though I didn't play a whole lot, I was able to, compete in practice. And so I found practice to be my game. So I had a couple of guys, they would say to me, John, this is practice. I was like, yeah, but this is the game for me because I don't play in the game. So I took that position, and I think that helped me because one of the things that I did do is that, because our team wasn't as strong as I would have liked it to be, we lost a lot of games. So I had to view what it was I was trying to do. I couldn't look at it and say, well, I'm going to lead us in scoring when you have a guy like World Be Free and a couple other guys, that like Dana was saying, wants the ball. So I had to sacrifice myself for the team, and say, okay, well, I have to minimize my scoring and look at how I can become a playmaker and really get these guys involved, and things begin to start to happen. And I think because of that, because every year that you're in the league, they draft point guards, 2, 3, 4 of them, So when they come in, they're hungry. These guys done played college, and they're looking at you like, look, they brought me in here to take your job. And so every year you had the battle. And so I think that was the thing that really kind of kept me focused, that every offseason I had to get ready because I knew another group of guys were coming.
It's Julian from the Grove. I'm sure this might have already been asked, but it's a small club of guys you guys are joining. What does it mean to sort of be a part of a select group of people who've had their numbers retired here?
Again, it's not only just the institution, being honored by the institution, but the time that we played in as well. So, when you look back, at the history of Boston College basketball, it's just I feel good to be, a prominent piece of that, and I look forward to many more, young players getting that same opportunity.
Yeah, well, it's a great honor. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine, how this turned into this. I started out playing, sandlot basketball, and my mother watching me and listening for the ball bouncing out the back window, because if the ball stopped bouncing, she was calling me, but to think that went from there to here, it's just an amazing ride. And I'm so thankful that I had an opportunity here at BC. BC gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm so thankful to BC for, what they've done for me.
Like, if you go back in the history of BC basketball, not that I know a ton about it, but if you go backwards, there's different time markers, like, the first steps into the ACC, the times in the Big East with Al and Dudley and all those guys. But your time is a little bit different because it's like in a rough and tumble Big East. Can you kind of pinpoint what that period in basketball was like in general, and so just being a part of it, I guess?
Well,
MSG before.
they make a lot of references to like the old NBA now, like with Steph Curry, and he wouldn't be able to do it. It kind of goes back in that argument where, yeah, I mean, I would come down the middle and I would have a finger roll and I would be smiling, and then Alonzo or Morning or Mutombo would say, all right, next time I'm gonna have to clothesline you, and that was the style of play that we played in, literally. Like it is a different style of play now. But again, it kind of gives you the pat on the back of that. Yeah, I did that. Because when you're in the moment, you don't realize the moment itself. You look back. I look at tapes. I show my son old tapes, and I'm looking. I'm gazing at my son. And he's talking about how small the shorts are. You know what I mean? He can't get past the size of the shorts. So again, like we said earlier, I just think it's when you go back, and the coaches up, Jim Christian and Stan Nance, said they had some video of this stuff. So I wanted to go back and actually take a look at it, and that'll really kind of bring me back to that moment in time, and how special it was.
Yeah, for me, I transitioned from the ECAC to the Big East, and we had some real battles, Holy Cross and a few other schools. But when we transitioned into the Big East, when you're playing against, Roosevelt Bowie, Lewis Orr, or Curtis Redding, and and Carter and Rencher from St. John's and Georgetown with Craig Shelton, and just amazing. I mean, you look at, you say, wow, okay, so for me, I thought it was just great because now we get a chance to play against the best players. The people that they were claiming that were the best players. And to me, the only way that you can measure yourself was by them. And so when I had the opportunity to play against a Sleepy Floyd or Eddie Moss, at the point guard position, I took that on as, my opportunity to show whether or not if I could do this. And so being able to show myself that I was able to do it, I think that was the thing that was kind of catapult me forward to playing in the NBA.
Just curious, Dana, when you look back, and I'm sure both of you at this point, but if you look back in the paternity of quote-unquote small guards, kind of where do you see yourself? Because it starts, you've seen sort of a progression of all of them, whether it's the little guys like Muggsy and D, Aya, who came out right after you, even up now there's Steph and IT. It's a growing fraternity of little guys.
Definitely, the game has changed, and I mean, he's one of the first ones as well. I mean, him and then Michael Adams right after him. So, I mean, look, I've never seen myself as small ever until I look at myself in the picture, maybe, and then I say, wow, I'm a lot shorter than these guys. But when I'm on the court, I've never looked around and said, wow, I'm a small guy. Never. I've never thought about that. And I always felt like they have more of an issue guarding me than I do them. So when people say that to me, it's kind of amazing because I've never thought that way, and people think that you think that way, and I've never thought that way. I've never felt that my size was a negative. And it's just funny how people perceive that you feel that way yourself, but I've never actually ever said, wow, I don't know if I can do this because of my size, whether it was football or basketball. That's never crossed my mind. But when I watch the little guys on TV and I really see the significant difference, it's kind of like, wow, like these guys are, Isaiah Thomas is amazing. You know what I mean? Like at 5'7", which he actually is, to go not only shoot, but he gets to the rack. He does many different things. So stepping outside of that box, looking at it, it's pretty amazing, But as you're in that circle, I've never looked at myself and said, man, this is going to be hard because I'm small, ever. So, and that's what I say to young kids as well. It's just, it's not about that. If I had that mentality, I would not be here at all. And not only in the pros, but I would have never played in the Big East. So, that's a misconception, I guess, that people think us small guys have. It's just we don't think like that. We might say it and pretend we're answering the question, but I'm sure he has the same mentality. I know him as a player and played against him as a player. I never felt that way, and I'm sure he has similar feelings,
Yeah, I think to me, the objective was to force them to have to play my game or the game that, we play. Speed, up and down, left and right, because for a lot of big guys at the time, they didn't have a lot of that coordination that we had. So there was always an advantage for us. So, it didn't matter, who it was or how tough of a defender he was always at a disadvantage. He never had an opportunity. He never had a chance with us, to me.
Yeah, if you see a ball come off the rim, you can forget it. There's nothing that there's no defense for speed. It's like a wide receiver and going one-on-one. There's no defense. That's why AI was such a great player. When the ball comes off the rim, there's nothing you can do, and that's what people when the court is open, it's so easy for us to have an advantage, you know what I mean? And it's very easy for us to call for a double team, to yell for help when that double team is needed. So, as players, just, remember that we don't get to this point, thinking of ourselves in a negative light, That's just, we don't think like that, even if we say we do.
For both of you, just obviously where you fit in Boston college culture is one thing, but you're both kind of figures in Boston sports history in general. And I was curious how you felt about sort of that narrative and seeing that play out and being part of that Boston family.
I mean, I grew up in Boston, so I was, I got to watch not only great the great college players, but watching, Larry Bird, the Celtics, that era, that generation. And I remember even going, when they played in the ACC, going to see Reggie Lewis and those guys play against each other just to watch that. Look, man, it's just been an unbelievable ride for me. Like a Boston kid from Mattapan, to be able to play 14 years in the league and the city that I grew up in, for the team that I watched, for the Celtics. Man, and to play at BC, which is the collegiate kind of equivalent of the Celtics. It's just, you guys from Boston know, I don't have to explain it to you. It's been unbelievable. My family got to see me play at each level, in high school, college, and the pros. So, and if you've known me, I played in Seattle, Philly, Detroit. I promise you, the day after the season was over, I was on the red eye back to the bean. I promise you that every year. So, that's what it is for me.
Yeah, I just think that, being a basketball historian, just knowing, basketball and the history of, Boston, New York, and, playing and everything, and seeing those games on TV, to the ideal of being able to play in the Garden under the flags, under all the banners, all the retired numbers and the great players. I mean, how could you not be moved? How could you not be inspired? Playing, having Red Auerbach, at the practice, and he's telling you stuff like, if you hurt, don't come back and play because they're going to judge you on how you play. So, the little bit of wisdoms that, that you get from, those opportunities. And it's just amazing to me. I'm so thankful I had the pleasure and the opportunity to be here in Boston. I have a sister that lived here in Boston. So when I first came here, she lived up on Humboldt Ave. So, when I started traveling into Boston my first year. And so I got to know the city. Me and DeJuan Chandler became roommates, and I was running with him. We was go down on the South End, Charmin Ave, down to, the Dudley Station, riding the Orange Line, So I really got a chance to live Boston, So I lived in Jamaica Plains when I played here, walking around the res, and, I've enjoyed Boston to the max. I really did.
Okay.
For the cameras, we'll have a photo op with their jerseys right now.
Okay. Yeah, okay. With Jack. You remember little Jack, right? My man Jack McMahon.